Hi everyone, my name's Arsh Ellahi. Hope you're well. It's Sunday, the 14th of August at 8 p.m. Hope you're having a great weekend, and hopefully you've enjoyed it and looking forward back to a productive week ahead of you. So, just before we start, we've got quite a lot of people online tonight. Would you mind just giving us a quick hi and hello just to let me know that you can hear me nice, loudly, and clearly? Okay, so I've got quite a few. Just having a quick look who we've got online. Okay, quite a few new faces, which is obviously good. So let's keep. Okay, so someone's put. Okay, hi, I can hear you from LA. So okay, hi Andrea. Hope you're well. So quite a few people from the UK, quite a few people from overseas. So tonight we're going to be talking about something quite specific. We're going to be online for approximately 60 to 90 minutes, and tonight we're going to be talking about how to make £1,000 per calendar month or per month cash flow from every HMO with none of your own money. If you wouldn't mind, just let me know that that's the reason why you're here. If not, you may be on the wrong webinar. But anyway, keep moving on. So I want to say thank you. First of all, thank you so much for trusting me with your time this evening. Because I'm a big believer that time is the most precious commodity, and I guarantee that this is going to be the best investment or the best time that you're going to have spent or taken out of. Because this is the first time I'm running this webinar or this style of webinar. Because what really made me do it is, and we're going to talk about it tonight, is the government's tactics to reduce the interest rate to 0.25%. I think it's a phenomenal way of making a massive wave in the property industry, and we'll be talking about that. So, in just under 90 minutes' time, you're going to know exactly how to make £1,000 per month cash flow from every HMO without any of your own money. Now, it sounds too good to be true. Admittedly, I'm gonna say that. But once you've listened to the webinar, I'm hoping you'll say, you know what, guys, I can do this because I'm doing this every day of the week. And we're going to go through some examples a little later on. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the interest rate, why it's good for the economy, why it's bad for the economy, and how we're going to move it forward. So a little bit about who I am and what I've done. So I'm the best-selling author for a book called Boom Bust and Back Again, which is currently ranked bestseller in Amazon. So I've been involved in property. Well, you could say that I've been involved in property pretty much all my life because I've known nothing other than to be a property investor as a landlord since the moment I could walk. But I've been full-time investing in property for 16 years. So ever since the year 2000. So you could say that I'm a bit of a veteran who's earned my scars. I run a group of letting agencies for the last 8 years, and I'm also a property investor, a trainer, and a mentor that's helped hundreds of people that are hungry to change for financial freedom. Now, first thing I'm going to do is, before I do that, I want to know exactly who we've got online and what your experience is with regards to HMOs. So, are you completely new to the market? Are you completely have you got a lot of HMOs? So what kind of experience have we got online tonight? So first person's come in, hi, she says, completely new to HMO. Okay, nothing wrong with that. If you wouldn't mind, for everyone else, can you just let me know, are you new to completely new? Are you looking to get involved in HMOs? Do you already own HMOs? And the reason why I say that is because it's always good to hear from people that who also own HMOs and how their journey is progressing. Because, well, okay, so we've got a lot of people say completely new. So I own 2 HMOs, saw TV program with me on it. Okay, interesting. Beginner looking for HMOs, 1 HMOs, some ideas. Okay, right, go. Got Beverly. Hi, Bev. Hope you're well. She's already managing HMOs. Right, okay. Okay, so Tom's called that. I was on a TV program called Britain's Benefit Tenants. Was on the first series, I think, is episode 3. I think you can probably still get it on Channel 4 on demand. So, okay, moving on. So, I personally think that we're in a we've got a phenomenal opportunity ahead, and I've called it the perfect storm. Reason is you can either sink or you can sail. Now, the government has done this phenomenal thing, which has reduced the interest rates to 0.25%. And as a result, we're starting to see house prices fall. Now, when I put this out on social media last night, a lot of people said, "Well, we haven't seen anything fall yet." But my response to that is that they're not looking closely enough, because from what I'm seeing, is that there is a stir in the market. And for argument's sake, if you go in a lot of the forums, one person actually said this week is that they had a property on the market for 400 grand. They've had it downvalued to 360 grand this week. So that's a 10% drop, and that was in London. And that's the beautiful part about it, is that this thing called the property reduction or drop in prices is happening nationwide. Even London is being affected. So what can we do? How can we weather the storm? Well, let's talk about interest rate, because when the government decided to reduce interest rate at 0.25%, they really didn't. They didn't. I don't think they took they didn't look at it in too great a detail. They thought, well, it'll kickstart the economy. But then when you look at it, is that from a saver's point of view, it's bad news, because every saver is looking for a better return on their savings. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, a German 2-year bond is actually at minus 0.63, which means that every day they're actually losing money. Now, the current UK bonds are 0.13. That's less than leaving your money in the bank. Now, everyone is after a better return on their savings. So now is a phenomenal opportunity. Property prices are dropping. You're not making your money in the bank, or your investments aren't performing as well as they could have been, or they should be. What we're going to do, we're going to start looking for other opportunities. And we've always said, and it's a known fact, that bricks and mortar is always a safe bet. And remember, they say that you make money when you buy, not when you sell. And if you're buying in a declining market, sorry, I'm just reading the messages. So when you're buying in a declining market, that's only ever a good thing. Because if you buy at the bottom, you sell. It's like anything. You buy when it's low, you sell when it's high. So keep moving on. The best 1-year fixed rate ISAs are only paying 1.4%. And the best 5-year fixed rates ISAs are currently only paying 1.7%. And that's only for 15,240. Now, how else can you make your money work harder for you without doing any of the work? I'm going to quickly get through the interest rate stuff, because what I really want to do is get to the meat of the presentation. We'll talk about this strategy called HMOs and how you can actually do it with none of your own money. So, as I mentioned briefly, house prices are falling everywhere. Only in July, so not only last week, the week before, they were reporting that house prices in London pretty much lost £1,000 a day in July. Now, you've got to remember that in London, that's not going to be a massive amount, but just imagine if house prices dropped £1,000 a day in other locations. It would be a catastrophic effect. £1,000 a day is equivalent to 5.6%, and the average house price across the country fell by approximately 0.9%, and the average being around £233,250. And they're predicting that house prices will fall 5% nationwide and tumble even further, according to the Telegraph. And these are just a few facts that I've picked up off some, shall we say, some well-versed independent financial newspapers. So the central expectations of price falls are between 3 and 5% in 2017 and 2018. So this is from Adam Chalice of JLL. And what they're saying is basically, this isn't just a short-term thing. Now we're falling, or we are in recession, and we're going to be in recession for a couple of years. Now, from a property investor's point of view, you can either say that could be either a bad thing, or if you've already got stock and you're thinking, well, it's losing money. Now you've got to look at it from two trains of thought, and we'll go through cash flow shortly, because if your property capital asset isn't increasing, we need to start looking at how can we increase the cash flow and stress test the asset. And finally, house prices will fall 5% outside London and more within the capital, and that's reported by KPMG. So if I lose any of you halfway through the presentation, if you think that I've gone completely over your head, feel free to stop me, because like I said, this is a completely brand new presentation that I'm doing. So I spent a fair bit of time on this because what I wanted to do is give you a real indication of what's happening in the market and what we're experiencing every day being full-time in property. So the average London house price is down by 30% according to the Hart Estate Agency. The month-on-month decline is one of the biggest that they've recorded, says Hart Estate Agency. And these are guys that are actually meant to sell property every day, and they're seeing this decline in the capital. You've got to remember, whatever happens in the capital is going to have a knock-on effect across the whole country. And the economists at the German bank Society Generale have said London prices could fall 30% and halve in the most expensive boroughs. Now, for me, when I read that, I think that's quite extreme. I would say between 5 and 10%. If it fell between 30 and 50%, that would have a catastrophic effect on the rest of the country. Now, moving on to the housing market, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, so the RICS, have predicted that a slump in the property transactions, with its members are more gloomy about prospects than at any point since the late 1990s. And that there are signs that the house price growth is slowing, with a deceleration in both annual and quarterly rates of increase in the last few months. So what I'm trying to pretty much get around to saying is that it's pretty gloomy out there. Yeah, I don't know what your perceptions are. As the guys that we've got on the webinar, would you mind telling me, are you actually seeing this? Are you actually reading this? Are you taking note of this? Or what's your own thoughts of this? By all means, like I said, I'm always up for a bit of interaction. I love the thought of just getting you guys to see what your thoughts are. Do you actually believe in what's being written, or do you think that it is just all propaganda and everything's going to be okay? Because the people that said it was going to be okay never predicted the fall in 2006, 7 and 8. So if you wouldn't mind telling me what your thoughts are, that'd be phenomenal. So, okay, so Andrew's put, yes, listening and watching, a change is definitely upon us. Chris, now, I like your comment, because Chris put, great, there's a sale on. And you know what, mate? That's exactly the right mentality to have. And we'll be talking about that, because that's a great way of putting it. Okay, so Hamish has put, I've read about this, but I feel it's an opportunity, especially as property trend is always on the up. Prices seem to have stagnated where I am. Short-term correction, fallout from Brexit. Mark seems to think it's a short-term correction. Okay, don't believe property prices have fallen that much. Haven't seen it. I agree that they're dropping. Global economy is unstable. Believe that London central further north, less panic. South Oxford shares no real change, no evidence so far. Okay, so Stuart said that he's still in the building trade, still very good. So some people, we've got a mixed bag, because some people are saying that they haven't really seen any real change where they are. Other people are saying that they're seeing a change in where they are. Okay, so it's interesting, because Dominic, he says, I'm in the northwest. Many areas haven't even seen the prices go back up pre-2007. How can there be another recession? But it's still a great opportunity. Okay, so keep moving on. So we keep talking about house prices and how they're expected to fall sharply as a result of Brexit. And you know what, the guys, when the economy, when they were doing this, they never thought at one point did we ever would say that we would leave Europe. And as a result, You know, we've seen what's happened to our government and what's happening as a result of the economy in EU as well. So EU's got stronger, the UK has slightly weakened. I was reading, sorry, I heard somewhere on the news today, I think it was on CNN, that they don't believe that we're actually going to be out of Europe until 2000, I think it was in late 2019. So we're still quite a way off from there. Now, where's the good news? This is the reason why you're on the webinar, because with every bit of bad information, but every bit of bad news, I would say there's a silver lining. I'm a big believer in that, because when you've got uncertainty, when you've got chaos and you've got fear, you've got a huge opportunity for the savvy property investor. Now, falling prices and stagnating market equals bigger discounts. And the lowest interest rates in history means that the savers are desperate for help. Because they're not making money in the bank, how else are they going to make their money? Now, if they know that property is on the decline, they may think that, well, okay, if we put our property, if we put our money into property, is there a way that in the future it's going to come back up, and is it going to make us more than what we'd be getting in the bank? Sorry, just finally, just quickly going through the final few questions that people put in. Now, talking about savvy property investors, what we're going to be talking about tonight is a proven cash flow model to replace your salary. We're going to be talking about a guaranteed system to recycle your cash. And this is going to allow you to buy with someone else's money, or to buy multiple properties with one deposit. Do you mind if I ask, does that sound good? More importantly, why are we doing this? So are we getting to this, are we doing it for the point of financial freedom? What would you do if you got to a point of financial freedom? What's the reason why we're doing it? Are you doing it for your family? Are you doing it for more holidays? Okay, so Mark's coming straight away, and he's just asked, is at the start of the journey. He just wants me to start very briefly on what HMOs are and how they can work, and that's not a problem, because I'm grateful that you asked, Mark, because there might be quite a few other people that are thinking the same thing. So we'll go through that in a short while. So moving on, so quite a few people saying that they want to do this for the family and they want to get out of the rat race, which is a great thing. Now, one thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the reason why I think HMOs are still a very strong strategy to follow in property. Just so that we know, Mark, sorry, just lost that way there. Mark, a HMO that is an abbreviation for a house of multiple occupations. And the reason why, and the best way of describing it is, let's just imagine that you've got a single house, well, a single let. You've let it out to a single family. And let's just say that, for argument's sake, let's say that the rent on that house in the West Midlands is, say, £550. Now, you may have a mortgage on that property. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that the mortgage is approximately £300. And on top of that, you've got buildings insurance that you have to pay. Then you may have to take into consideration, you know, you're paying letting agents fees. You're probably paying, you've probably got a contingency for voids, bad debts management, voids, bad debt management, which means that you may be left with a cash flow of approximately £200 a month. But the problem that you've got there, Mark, and the rest of the guys on the webinar, is that what happens? What happens when that property is vacant? That property is no longer producing an income. So it's no longer producing the £200 cash flow, but more importantly, it's costing you money. It's costing you the mortgage. It's now costing you council tax whilst it's vacant. You may have to go and do some repairs. You can't ask for a mortgage holiday break, because generally they may say no. But the one thing with a HMO is that, as opposed to have one family live in the property, you rent out the rooms individually in a property. Now, are you with me on that? Is there anyone? So, Stuart's Paul, is it occupation or occupancy? You decide, because they're both the same terminal. So when you look at its house, it's HMO, which house of multiple occupation or house of multiple occupancy. So, it depends on who you speak to. I like house multiple occupation because it seems rather correct. So when you rent out the room, let's just imagine that you're renting out the room now, and let's keep the rent low. Let's say £300 a month, which is what a room in Wolverhampton would fetch. Now, let's just take, for example, that you've got a 4-bedroom property and you've got 2 reception rooms on the ground floor. Now, you could rent out each of the rooms separately for £300. So you could rent out the 4 bedrooms on the top floor and one of the rooms on the ground floor, which gives you now a 5-bed HMO. And that would bring in a new rental income of £1,500 a month. Now, don't get too excited yet, because out of that £1,500, you would then, the general consensus would be that you would pay the bills. So council tax, water rates, electricity, gas, depending on who you supply, whether you supply broadband, cleaner. So let's just say on average that's around £400 a month. Now, out of the £1,500, let's take out your mortgage of £300. Let's take out your your utilities of £400. So it's going to leave you approximately £800, and we haven't taken into consideration a few other bits and pieces. But the beauty of it is that even if one tenant leaves or 2 tenants leave, technically it should still be washing its face and still be producing you cash flow. So the property will always be generating you an income. Now, the typical cash flow from a property is £1,000 a month. What I'd like you to do is take a moment right here and think that if you had a property generating £1,000 a month, how many properties like this would you need to replace your salary? Which is going to get you to the point of financial freedom. So if you wouldn't mind, so okay, so Harmesh coming straight away needs 5. So, okay. So quite a few people coming in. So we've got 5, 3, 4, 7. Raj has got quite a lifestyle, should I say? Okay, so Sunny has asked, is this webinar being recorded? It is, and it will be sent out to the people who are currently listening. So, but it would be good for you to stay on, because we've got a lot of content to share, and not only that, this is your opportunity to ask questions as well. So quite a few people saying that some people need 3 or 4. Wow, quite a few people need 10. So you'd like an income of 10 grand a month, which is 120 grand a year. Okay, so a couple of people said 8. Okay, 4 or 5. Okay, so just giving you an indication. That's giving me an indication. So just going back to what is a HMO, you rent it out by the room rather than by the house. For the tenants, the benefit is that it's a convenient bridge between a hotel and renting an entire house. And let's just say that you're a young lad, and let's just say that you work in Sainsbury's or Asda or supermarket or a shop or any retail unit, and you can't afford to rent a whole house, but you don't want to live back at home. A HMO is the most convenient property to live in, because you get to rent the room, but you've still got your own independency. For landlords, it's a high cash flow strategy that gives you a regular, recurring income. Now, the magic of commercial finance, because for those that don't know, the beauty of a HMO is that providing that you set it up correctly, you can make sure that you can utilize commercial finance. And for those that are unaware of the benefits of commercial finance, it allows you to recycle your cash. And it also allows you to triple the value of your property in just 6 months. And you can pull out more than the original price of the property than when you purchased it. And so in some cases, you could actually get back double the total money needed to buy the property. Now, I know that these sound quite outrageous claims, but I'm going to show you some examples shortly of how we've done this. Now, for argument's sake, like I said, the title of the webinar is how to create £1,000 with none of your own money, or if you wanted to do it, recycle your cash. And that is so true, because that's how we deal with commercial finance and JV investors. Now, when we talked about earlier, we talked about the interest rate 0.25%. We're talking about all these investors that have got savings but now don't know where to go. Now is a perfect opportunity to utilize a JV investor who's got money sitting in the bank that no longer wants it to generate a pittance of 0.25%. And now, with your experience and your newly found knowledge, you can now approach them and say, guys, okay, I've got a phenomenal opportunity. We can buy a property, we can do it, we can turn it into HMO, we can refinance it, we can get all your money back out, we can do it again, we can do it again, we can do it again. Now, here's a property. So Shane's put, can I get commercial finance through a brand new company? All depends on what your experience is. So, with regards to lending, it very much comes down to individual basis. They look at who you are, what you've done, what your experience is, etc., etc. Okay, so here's a property. Now here's a property that I actually own. I bought it in this condition, which you see as here. So it looks pretty beaten up. It's a property in Wolverhampton. The purchase price was £108,000. Now, I bought this property. It's a 4-bedroom property, 2 reception rooms, large kitchen diner on the back. So my general preference for a property is large Victorian mid terraces, and you can find these all over the country. And so, for argument's sake, I've also done a small HMO, 2-bedroom mid terrace property, and I turned that into a 4-bed HMO, and that now generates £20,000 a year in rental income. We had that valued at £200,000 on a purchase price of £60,000. Now, the example that we've got on screen now is a property where I bought for £108,000, and I spent £40,000 on a refurb, which meant that after converting it into HMO, it produces a monthly income of £3,033 with an annual income of just over £36,000. I've had this property valued after purchasing the property at £364,000. So it was all within 6 months. So I purchased the property, I renovated it, I rented it, and I refinanced it. And the only money that I required to do this was £67,000. And the reason why I say that is because the purchase price is £108,000. So I used some form of funding initially to get 75% of the purchase price, and then that meant that I needed £27,000 for the purchase for the deposit. I then spent £40,000 on the refurb and the legals. So that meant that the capital input for me was £67,000, but I had it valued at £364,000, allowing me to get all my money out plus a lot more. Now, in the scenario here, I use the lenders. Now, for argument's sake, I'm going to give you another example. Is that if you guys have seen a property similar to this and you want to learn how to do the strategy, after you could then go to your JV investor and you could say, on the basis that you know how the commercial funding works, on the basis that you understand how the HMO model works, you can get your money back out. You give the investor a little bit of interest for lending you the money, which he's now going to be happy about, and you've now got an asset which is now producing you a monthly income of £3,033. And you do it again, and you do it again, because provided that you show the investor that you've done it well, and he's got his money back, sure, he's going to want to go again, because why wouldn't he? He's made his money back, and you've given him interest, or you could even JV with him. You could even give him an asset. You could even give him a percentage of the income as a result, and to retain him long term. Now, Harmesh has put 40k is a lot to spend on a 108k property from a proportion. And he goes, is that right? I said, yeah, because we're going to talk about that shortly, actually, Hamish. So I'm not going to give away that secret just yet. So just going through some of the questions. So Barra says, how long does the property need to be rented out before mortgage can give it a rental income of 10 times the income? You've got to show that the property, you've owned the property for 6 months or more, and it could be rented out for a single day, but you've got to show that you've owned the property for 6 months or more. And the valuation is based on the annual income. And the commercial finance is based at 10 times the annual income, rent not to be confused with the bricks and mortar value. And that's very true. What we'll do, we'll talk about commercial finance shortly, because there's lots of investors. Now, don't get me wrong, because I'm going to be completely 100% clear on this. There's two types of valuations. We've got bricks and mortar valuation, and we've got a commercial valuation. The bricks and mortar valuation will only be what the property is perceived as. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we've got this property in this picture here. Now, the property next door may only be worth 240,000, but what makes mine different? Why is my property now worth £124,000 more? It all comes down to, because we look at it, it's almost like if I created a HMO just by changing doors and just decorating it, and I wanted them to value it on its bricks and mortar value, on its commercial valuation, it's never going to happen. You need to show a surveyor or the lending bank that what you've done is substantial and is no longer able to be valued under its bricks and mortar valuation. Because in all my HMOs, I give them en suites, and we'll be talking about what we do shortly. Okay, so Stuart's put. Stuart says that it's got 2 HMOs in East Lancashire, struggle to get commercial finances, bricks and mortar values are low. Okay, but Stuart, my question to you there, my friend, is what did you do to the property? Did you just simply put in a fire alarm system and changed a few doors and decorated it and hoped for the best? Because you've got to ask yourself the question. I always look at it from 2 points of view. If I was a bank, why would I lend on a property on its commercial valuation knowing that next door is considerably lower? What have you done to that property that makes it commercially viable? And the one thing that I would look at is, from a bank's point of view, is that if they were to repossess it, how much work would they have to do to bring it back to a single let? Which means that if it's generally just changing some doors and changing some lights and possibly putting in a fire alarm, it would cost very little to turn it back into a single let house. Whereas what we do here is we go through a full renovation project. And a surveyor can only give you a commercial value if he thinks that what you've changed the use from a building, from a residential property into a business. So if you buy a 3-bed terraced house and put in door locks, fire doors and emergency lighting, have you changed the use of a building? Your chances of getting commercial finance are 50-50 at best. Let's change that to 20-25 at best. Because I don't believe, now Stuart's put refurb to HMO standards, fire doors, etc. Now, Stuart, but what makes your house different to next door, other than the fire doors, which, let's face it, if that house were to be repossessed, the bank would go to Howden's, change all the doors back to the standard normal colour, ply doors, and take out the fire alarm. Is your property now exactly the same as one next door? The answer is probably yes, which means that I now know the reason why you didn't get commercial finance. Your property is no different to the one next door. You spent a little bit of money on it, naturally, but it's not enough to get commercial finance. Now, there's 3 HMO models which we're going to be talking about, but one has a supercharged engine. So you've got the all bills inclusive model, which I'm assuming Stuart has run. Then you've got one where it's partially bills inclusive. And you've got one, which I call the Arsh HMO model, where it's fully exclusive, no bills included. So Stuart yes says, yes, mine is all inclusive. Now, the model that we're going to be talking about tonight is a model that I believe I created as the first person in the UK to do this, and come out and start sharing it with everyone. It's a HMO where it's fully bills exclusive. I've got a philosophy when it comes to properties, is that if they want to pay for it, if they want to use it, they have to pay for it. Now, for argument's sake, I'm going to give you a bit of an example. I'm going to give you a bit of an example here. Now, in all my HMOs, I've stripped out all the gas and everything's all electric. Now, every room's metered separately. That's just a small snippet as to what the kind of works that we do in our HMOs. Now, going back to my previous example here, is that if every room's got its own electricity meter, how many of the houses on that road are going to have 7 electricity meters? More importantly, when you're rewiring the house to 7 separate electricity meters, how can a surveyor ever come back to you and say that you've now, you've not changed the use of the building? I've been doing this 16 years and I've never had a down valuation on a HMO. Now, we're going to talk about the 3 models. And the first model is the all bills inclusive. I'm going to give you the pros and cons. Now, it's great for the tenant because once they've paid their rent, let's say that they've paid their £300 a month, they get to use as much energy as they want. Bad thing for the landlord is that there's no such thing as a sustainable cash flow level. And I'm going to say, the reason why I'm going to say this is because let's say in winter months you may make some money as cash flow. So because the heating's off, you hope so. And as a result, the energy bills are going to be lower. But let's just say that the tenants don't really give you much consideration and they keep the heating full blast. What happens there? Because the only person that's losing out is you as a landlord. You're not going to be able to budget what your cash flow is going to be. And the reason being is it's all dependent on the people that you've got in the property. They may decide to have the heating full blast on, but yet when you walk into the property, all the windows and all the doors are open because they think it's too hot. They don't bother turning the heating down. Has anyone ever had that scenario where you walk to your property and it is literally like backdraft? You walk in and it's so hot. Now, the model that we're going to be talking about now is the no bills included, which is fully exclusive. Now, it's very simple. It's easy for the landlord to budget. So, for argument's sake, if you pass all the bills back onto the tenant is pretty much having to pay for their own electricity. Depending on how you structure it, you can get away with them paying their own council tax and their own water rates. And the beauty of it is that the tenant has pretty much got their own little unit for half the price. And not only that, commercial finance is pretty much 100% guaranteed. And the landlord is going to be the landlord can sleep at night knowing that the property isn't lit up by Blackpool Tower, or if it is looking like Blackpool Tower, you know that the tenants are actually paying for it, not you. I can sleep at night knowing that if a tenant decides to have their heater on full blast, they're paying for it, not me. Now, the one thing that I find, and the reason, I'll let you into a little secret, the reason why I decided to devise this style of HMO is because I went to university in Gloucestershire. It was the University of Gloucestershire. I was based in Cheltenham, and I really despised living in a student house. My first year I lived in a student property, and I would always end up having to wake up first to go to the bathroom because I was sick of going to the bathroom after someone else, using the shower, but spending the first half an hour cleaning the shower after someone else. And the same with the kitchen. You could call it OCD if you like, but I found that I was sick of that. So what I decided to do, I decided to devise a model where tenants have got their own facilities. So they've got their own little, possibly their own little kitchenette and their own ensuite, which means that if they're making mess, it's their own mess. They can fester in their own filth, if you like. And I find that tenants stay longer. Now, I've been doing this for 16 years, and I've got tenants that lived in these properties for the last 16 years, which means that I've had no voids, I've had no bad debt, and we've got a great relationship. I've got tenants that have possibly sometimes been in there a month and decided that it's not for them, but generally we've got a very good bunch of people, and we find that the tenants tend to manage themselves. And I'm going to keep hitting home on the fact that commercial finance is guaranteed. And that's a key point, because obviously if I'm able to get all my money back out, it allows me to really ramp up how many properties I can buy and how many I can do. Because if I know I'm going to get my money back out, if my calculations are correct from day one, I can get all my money back out, I can go and buy another property, can go and buy another property, can go and buy another property. Now, going back to a question that you guys, I asked at the start of the webinar, how many properties that you need? Now, if it's producing in excess of £1,000 a month, some people said that they needed 10 properties. You can do this, and you can do it by not leaving any of your own money in. So if you've got your own money to start with, great. Let's go off and create them. And a result, get commercial finance, get your money back out, do it again. If you haven't got your own funds, either use JV finance, use development finance, whatever it is, but there's so many different ways. I'll even show you about how you can do it using crowdfunding, because you have created a business and not just the all-inclusive HMO, which removes you from the cattle or the herd of sheep that everyone else seems to be doing in the HMOs industry. And it gives you the ability to build your portfolio with other people's money. You get to leverage on banks' money. You get to leverage on JV investors' money. So sorry, I'm just going through some of the questions. Okay, so I'm going to come back to some of these questions if it's okay. Now, other people's money, you get to build your portfolio faster. You get to seize every opportunity. Now, for argument's sake here, let's just say now we're in a declining market. Now, the one thing that you could do is approach all these all these investors and say, guys, you've got money in the bank. He's not doing anything for you right now. But here's what we've got. We've got an opportunity where I can buy property cheap. I can convert it. I can turn it into this cash cow. And as a result, we can get our money back out. You can have your money. Here's your lump of interest for lending it me. Or I can give you a slice of the pie so that you're cut into the deal for as long as I own the property. And it helps savers get a better return on their money. Why wouldn't they get involved? And I can talk to you about HMO after HMO after HMO as to how I've done this. I did this and I created a 23-bedroom HMO in West Bromwich. Now, I always talk about my 23-bed HMO because when I bought it, it was a pain in my backside because I bought it as a 17-bed care home. I bought it as a 17-bed care home. I rented it out to a care facility who originally decided that they were going to rent it as a care home off me for 10 years. Year one, it was going fantastically well. Year two, they were on rocky ground. Year three, they declared themselves bankrupt. Now, I now have this property that I bought for £480,000. Now, when the property was vacant, you can imagine, 17-bed care home, it's not going to be very easy to rent very quickly. It's not like one room that you're going to be able to fill. I had 17 rooms empty in this massive care home. So what I decided to do, I went to all the homeless shelters, I went to all the charities, I went to all the organisations, saying, guys, do you want to rent this property off me? bearing in mind that it's costing me, back then it's about between 2 and 3 grand a month in mortgage payment, because 480 grand, it's a lot of money. I had the bank breathing down my back saying, well, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? I then turned it, that all the housing associations, all the charities turned me away, saying, the property's too big, we won't know what to do with it. I then decided that, you know what, I'm going to take the management back in-house. I then turned it into a 23-bedroom HMO. And as a result, that property is the best decision that I probably ever made in property. My business partner told me that I should literally just hand the keys back to the bank. I refuse to do that. I've got far too much pride to do that. Now, that property, which was a 70-bed care home, now been running as a 23-bedroom HMO since 2006. And it's been generating £120,000 a year in rental income. I had this property valued by Lloyd's in February 2015 at £1.2 million. Remember, I bought it for 480,000. I had to spend 70 grand on a refurb, so it owes me 550, but it was valued at £1.2 million. Now you guys do the maths. Now Don has asked, well, when you borrow money from investors, what interest rate do you offer? Now Don, I can't answer that for you, just purely because every investor is going to have their own individual, what they would see as an ideal figure for them. Now you could offer them, I know people that offer 8% a year. I know people that offer 12% a year. I know people that offer 20% a year. Just depends on how desperate you are for that cash. How certain are you that you're going to get your money back? And more importantly, you could offer them 12% with a 50%. Or you could offer them 10%, or you could even offer them 5% with a view of that you give them their property. You give them their money back. You give them the 5%, which you promised, plus a 20% stake in the profits of the property. Now, you guys just imagine that you're an investor and you've got the cash in the bank, and let's just say that Don came to you and says, guys, I've got this phenomenal opportunity where you can create this HMO where it's going to produce £36,000 a year. But in order to buy it, I need 67 grand. Going back to my original example, I need 67 grand, which is deposit plus refurb work. As a result of that, I'm now going to offer you, let's say, 10% on your money. So if you lend me 67 grand, at the end, I'm going to give you another 6,700. So you're going to get 73,000 back. I hope that's right, if my maths are right. So you're going to get 73,000 back. But as a result, this property is now going to produce 36 grand a year. And I'll give you, let's say, 10% of that income for the lifetime of that property. Now, what would you guys say about that? Does that sound good? Now, if you guys had the cash, if I approach you, if Don approached you with that opportunity, would that interest you? Now, people are already saying, yeah, very good, I'd be interested. Now, all you've got to do is just make sure that you can deliver on what you've told them. Now, putting it all together is simple, because all you've got to do, technically, and this is simple, guys, you've got to buy a property, you've got to convert it using the Arsh HMO model, you've got to fill it with tenants, and you've got to apply for commercial finance. It really is as simple as that. Now, for those that know already how to convert to HMO, we've just got to adapt your model further. Now, I'm going to be talking to you about quite a few people that have done this. A 3-bedroom terrace property, just like you would for a single let, but the most important thing to look at is for large rooms, because when you want to buy a B&V, although this is not essential, and the reason why I say that, sorry, I'm just reading, I'm thinking, well, when you're buying a property, it doesn't necessarily have to be a B&V, because if you know you're going to be able to increase the value by turning it into Arsh HMO, should you say. Julian, I was just chuckling because Julian said, I need to register the Arsh HMO. If you know that you're already going to increase the value by turning it into a commercial entity, you don't mind paying market value, and there's been a number of opportunities where I've paid market value because I'm going to be increasing the value by adding value to the property. Now, remember, in my HMO, there is no gas, electricity meters in every room, ensuite in every room, potentially kitchenette in every room, and potentially you can give them a microwave. Now, this works for all models, so it works for all, so it works for students, works for, and you know, guess what, guys? This works all over the country. Now, you're going to be asking yourself, well, what's the benefit for the tenant? Now, remember, going back now, just putting yourself in the eyes of a tenant. Now, if I said to you, now, for argument's sake, let's go back to our friend Stuart. Now, Stuart and I have both got properties on the same road. Let's just use this example. Now, tenant walks in, and let's just say they can walk in Stuart's property may be lovely. It's, you know, decorated very nice, etc., etc. They walk in, and the bill's all inclusive. But they have to share the kitchen, they have to share the bathroom. They don't know what the other tenants, how they live like, or if the property is vacant, they don't know who else is going to be moving there. Now, if they walk into my property, they've got their own little kitchen, they've got their own bathroom, which means that they don't have to share anything with anyone. It's pretty much they've got their own little flat for half the price of living in a flat, and that's what we're offering. Now, Shane has put, could I buy on a buy to let then convert and use commercial finance? That's a grey area, Shane, and I'll be completely honest. I'd prefer that you didn't, just purely because it'd be, you know, I don't want to get you into trouble with any mortgage lenders because you shouldn't be using buy-to-lets knowing that you're going to be converting the property into HMO, unless you've got a HMO style product, which you can. But like I said, I'll be talking to you about finance shortly. Now, here's another property. 200 Lee Road in Wolverhampton, another one that I own. Purchase price was 102 grand. I only spent 4.5 grand on this property, and it gives me a monthly income of £2,210, which is an annual income of 26,520. It gave me a commercial valuation of 265 grand, allowing me to get back 198,900. Allow me to pull out after all my costs about 70 grand. And I can show you property after property after property. Now, I'm going to be talking to you about something called the HMO Bootcamp. It's because I've devised a workshop which is the only HMO course to give you not only the academic classroom but also the practical knowledge that you need to confidently take action the very next day. How to set up a HMO, just following the simple checklist for the quick success. And we'll be talking about 3 fundamental HMO models, so not the ones that we looked at, the inclusive, the fully exclusive, and the partially inclusive, to maximise cash flow from any property and any property type, tenant type. How simple and low cost changes to the floor plan will make dramatic differences to your cash flow, because on the workshop, not only do we teach you how to do it, but we will be putting you in contact with all the experts that help me on a day-to-day basis. So for argument's sake, we've got an architect who will be coming in and doing a talk about the plans and the drawings. We've got a commercial property finance who will be coming, commercial property finance lender and broker who will be coming in showing you how he structures all my deals for me to get all my money back out. We'll be having a tax specialist talking to you about showing you how to get HMRC and fund your next opportunity. So it's the complete understanding of your legal, safety and amenity obligations, how to easily keep the council on your side. Now, remember, I'm going to have the HMO architect, is a man that gets all of my plans approved. We've got the commercial finance expert showing you how to pull all your money out of the deal. And we've got the property tax expert showing you how to make HMRC fund your next HMO. And not only that, you gain the rock-solid confidence to set up and profit from HMOs the very next day, thanks to the proven system that I've created, which is the academic and practical understanding of what needs to be done and how to do it. And remember, guys, now we talked about previously the properties that you need, to do, how many properties that you require. You could retire on the cash flow from just 4 properties, which gives you an income of over 50 grand a year cash flow. But now, taking into consideration my 23-bed HMO, that produces a cash flow for me of around £120,000 a year. So it's £120,000 a year rental income. Could you retire off that one property alone? And there's a would you agree? But I disagree, because you'll discover how to make your tenants want to stay in their rooms for years. And we're not talking about tying them into the rooms, locking them in the rooms. What we're doing is we're talking to them about how to actually find the right tenant for the right property, nurture them and keep them there, so that they become, because you've got to remember, they are your customers. And how to make a HMO no more work to manage than a single let. And the reason why I say that is because my 23-bed HMO, how much time do you reckon it takes to manage a 23-bedroom HMO? Would you say it takes, in a month, would you say that it takes what? Would you say a week, 2 weeks? 2 weeks out of a month to manage 23 people? If I said to you that it takes on average around an hour a week, which is 4 hours a month for a 23-bed HMO, because it is fully systemized. And we show you the easy to use trick in the difference between time freedom that comes with passive income and instead of creating another job for yourself. And here's the beauty, is that obviously we've talked about profit from both capital growth and high monthly cash flow. Remember, they say that property prices are falling. Now, as a result of turning this into a commercial entity, you can then increase the value from the standard bricks and mortar value. The current market uncertainty makes now the best time to get into HMOs. A savvy investor will make fortunes, whilst an uninformed, shy investor will shy away from the risk. And you've got to remember that it's not something that I've just devised overnight. I've been doing this for 16 years. I've got well in excess of 650 odd tenants, and I've been playing with commercial lending for a long time. And commercial lending is where the big dogs play. And the reason why I say that is because you can instantly make a lot more money by using commercial finance as opposed to buy-to-let finance. Commercial finance is a lot more flexible, it's a lot more leverageable, and it shows you, and it'll be a way that you can expand on your portfolio a lot quicker. So here's what we're going to do, guys. So the workshop is actually on the 10th and the 11th. I'm just going to quickly check that date. It's on the 10th and 11th of September. Yeah, it is 10th and 11th of September. It is actually been based in Wolverhampton. The reason why it's based in Wolverhampton is because I'm going to be taking you around my properties. We're going to be going in the minibus. We're going to be going around my properties. You're going to be touching them. You're going to be feeling them. You're going to be meeting my tenants. You're going to be seeing how I structure them. So not only that do you get to look at them, you also get the technical specification. You're also going to be meeting the HMO the commercial finance broker. You're going to be meeting the architect. You're going to be meeting the tax specialist, who's going to be showing you how to retain your profits as a result of the refurbs that you're doing. And you can have all that for $997 plus VAT. And you're allowed to bring your business partner for free. So that's a weekend in Wolverhampton, the 10th and the 11th of September, for $997 plus VAT. And you can bring your business partner for free. And all you've got to do is go to arshellahi.com/HMOBC, which stands for HMO Bootcamp. Now, here's a couple of guys. So, remember I talked about a couple of guys. So, here's Colin McNulty. So, he's become quite a good friend of mine, actually, Colin has, admittedly, because we're doing a fair bit of business from there on. Because Colin came on my workshop, And I run all these workshops with my brother and business partner, Arsh Ellahi, and he goes, I attended Arsh's and his brother Aki's HMO course a couple of years ago. It was like looking through a window to another world. Hot off the course, I bought a house and followed their HMO conversion exactly. Been up and running for 2 years now, and it's extremely profitable. Now, for those that are on the pin circuit, you'll recognise these two young ladies. So Carly and Kirsten, who are both girls from Bournemouth, what they did is that they attended my HMO workshop in Feb 2014 and have gone on to create 9 HMOs. And these girls are completely financially free now. It's a key turning point for us. Following the course, Arsh supported us immensely afterwards, which we truly appreciated. And the beauty of it is that the training doesn't just finish in the room. We've also got a Facebook forum. We've also got, I've got a lot of people that just consistently call me and say, Arsh, okay, we've got a commercial finance valuation happening. What do we need to know? What do we need to tell the broker? And I'm always on call to answer those calls. So you'll get direct contact to me, and if you've got any issues with commercial finance, you've got any issues with, for argument's sake, an architect, etc., you get to use my power team. That's the whole point. You don't have to go out and recreate this. You can use the guys that I've been using for the last 16 years. Plus, more importantly, that alone is worth more than 997. Because if you were to try and go out and do this and get it wrong, it would cost you a lot more. You've got to understand what plans to put in. You've got to understand what's the difference between a self-contained unit and what's the difference between a HMO unit. Because I can guarantee there's going to be a few people on this webinar that are going to go off and say, well, I'm going to go and turn all my HMOs into studios. But guess what, guys? You'll be flaunting a lot of the planning legislation. So what you need to do is you need to come and educate yourself as to how to do this correctly. Now, a couple of guys, Harmesh and Chris, have said, I'm actually away that weekend. We will be running a workshop, I think, again in either late October or November. So if you do like the thought of it, one thing I will be doing, Harmesh and Chris, is that this event will be filmed as well. So if you can't make it, what I am offering you guys, and all the guys that come on the course, is that you will get a recording of the workshop. And if you can't make it that weekend, you then can come on the following course for the all within that price as well. So you'll be getting the recording as well. So that's just an added bonus for you. Okay, so like I said, it's the only workshop in the whole of the UK that gives you the academic classroom style and also the practical touching and feeling the HMOs. And you're going to get to see the 3 fundamental HMO models. And understanding, here's the most important part, the legal, safety and amenity obligations and how to easily keep the council on your side. And the guys, again, that you'll be meeting, the HMO architect, the commercial finance specialist, and the property tax expert. And finally, I'm so confident that you're going to take a load of knowledge back from this. I'm actually going to give you 100% money back guarantee. So if you buy the course today, you risk nothing because you're covered back by 100% money back guarantee. Here's how it works. Attend the first day of the course. If you're not completely and utterly satisfied, all you have to do is say so and I'll give you a full refund. No questions asked, no hassles, no problem at all. So what happens if you do nothing? You don't have to worry about learning something new. You don't have to worry about taking action. You don't have to worry about getting out of your comfort zone. That also means that your life will not change. It'll also mean that your frustrations at work will still remain. You'll still have to suffer through the commute every day. And you have to accept that you're limited choices. But you owe it yourself to give this a try. You've got to think that, wouldn't you like to learn the secrets at no risk to you at all? And you can grab this at half the price. and you can profit from the perfect storm opportunity. All you've got to do is click the link below. Now, we've got a lot of questions. I'm going to quickly say, because I'm going to just quickly leave this link on the screen, and whilst we do that, we're going to go through a few questions, because we've still got a bit of time. Okay, so David straight away is coming and goes, what about problem tenants? Now, David, the good thing is that on the day, on the weekend, on the Sunday, the one person that I forgot to throw in there is that my business partner, Aki, does a massive part on tenant selection. Because the one thing that you don't want to do, very correct, is you don't want to create a phenomenal, HMO and then not find the wrong people living in there. Because technically speaking, you'll just create yourself a hostel. One thing that you do want to do, is make sure that you've got the right people in there. So we'll be showing you what to look for in a tenant, where they've been living, what they've been doing, how they've been paid, is it has the benefit, are they students, are they professionals, etc. What kind of documents do you require, what kind of guarantors, what kind of guarantees, what kind of deposits, where do you place the deposits, you know, there's a check, we've got a 30-step checklist as to the kind of things you should be looking for within a tenant. If they're on benefits, where they've been living, how's the rent been paid, you know, where's the social benefits, how they, when's the social benefit been paid, have they done a runner from the last tenant, what's their history, etc, etc, etc. This is all the knowledge that you're going to be getting. Don has said, Arsh, how long does this price offer last, as I need to transfer money into my bank account? We're going to be holding this up until midnight tonight. Or Don, if need be, I'm going to leave you my phone number shortly where you can give me a call and we can have a chat. Paul has put, if I cannot make the course, do you provide online distance training? Paul, that's exactly what we do, because we've got lots of people who unfortunately can't make it. I don't know, we've got lots of investors from London, or lots of property people in London that can't seem to leave London. We help them on a long distance basis. So remember, for anyone that books on, you'll be getting the recorded version the week after we've finished it. And then not only that, you're going to get all the documents that we will email you via a Dropbox link, and you also get all the after support as well. So hopefully that helps. Right, okay, so Dylan has put, how do you get around being charged separate council tax per room? One of my 6-bed HMOs increased fourfold, council tax increased fourfold due to the rooms having kitchenettes. Now, Dylan, I'll be completely honest, I want them to be banded separately. The reason why I want them to be banded separately, it removes the liability away from me. Not only that, as a result of that, if I now go to a commercial lender and say, guys, okay, here's my HMO, here's next door, which is standard single let, which is valued at £100,000. That's got one kitchen, one bathroom, one council tax. Now, welcome to my property. I think it's worth £360,000 on the basis that it's got 6 bathrooms, 6 council tax bandings, and 6 electricity meters. What do you reckon the lender's going to say? Remember, you've got to give them all the facilities to say that, or all the evidence to show that your property is not a standard buy-to-let. Now, Justin's put, is it possible just to buy the filmed content? It is possible just to buy the filmed content. Unfortunately, it will remain at the same price. Remember, the key is the contacts that you're going to be getting, because these are the guys that have been doing it for me, that have been getting you out. Now, remember, it's not about just attending. Yes, when you attend, you get to network with all the people. But the key to it is obviously the education, which is what you're going to be getting. And as you get it as you get it in a recorded format as well. Remember, guys, the fact is that you're going to be able to watch this back and back again. So anytime you ever get stuck, you can refer back to it. So there's a lot that goes into it. So keep moving on. So let's ask. Right, okay. this is interesting. So Ian has come. He's put, hi Arsh. I'm a 60-year-old buy-to-let investor with 28 properties, looking for a less busy life. Would this course help? Now, Ian, this is phenomenal. You know why, my friend? First thing that I would suggest that you do is that I bet you've got properties in your own portfolio that's not performing anywhere near what they should be. Now, the first thing that I would be suggesting to you is we start looking at your portfolio. I would be suggesting that if you did come on this workshop, that we start looking at the floor plans of those properties. After day one, start looking at the floor plans of your properties, seeing what we can maximise on. And I bet you there's properties in there that have been underperforming for far too long. So you don't even need to go out and buy the properties. You've got the properties sat there in your portfolio. All you need to know is what to do with them. So if they're all standard single buy-to-lets at the moment, yes, it might be a little bit busier for you for a couple of months whilst you do the conversion, but then you just sit back and relax. And then not only that, you can refinance on the commercial valuation, get your money back out that you've just invested, and you could potentially then sell them off as a commercial investment. So okay, so Kevin's put, are there possibilities for payment of the course fee over a longer period? I'm happy to spread the payment the course fee, but the whole fee would have to be paid prior to attending the workshop. So for argument's sake, so where are we now? 1, 2, 3, we're 4 weeks away. So if need be, if we want to spread it over the 4 weeks, that is possible, and I can get the girls in the office to schedule and do that for you. So that if that's help, if that helps, then yeah, we can do that. And Raj has asked, what's the date of the course again? It's the 10th and the 11th of September. So let's see if there's any technical questions. So right, okay, so let's see. So okay, so Erica's put, is there anything to consider when applying for commercial finance on properties in London? Is it harder to get as the properties are more expensive in the first place? Now, Erica, it's a good question, and thank you for the question. The one thing that I would say is that if you are in London and if you've already got properties or if you're looking to buy properties, it's a phenomenal strategy, because in the West Midlands and generally across the country, the valuations can vary between 7 and 10 times the rental income. But in London, you can actually get that up to 15 times the rental income, depending on the location. Anything around the M25 or anything around the M4 corridor, you'll get around 12 times the income. So the one thing that we need to have a look at is obviously property purchase price, property conversion. What would that tally up as? Now we'll look at rent per room, look at how many rooms we'd be able to get, look at how much if we were to value at 10, 12 times the rental income or 15 times the rental income. How would that fare against the bricks and mortar value? You never know. It could still work better in the bricks and mortar valuation scenario. So, you know, there are a couple of things that you need to do. There is a bit of homework that you would need to do. Okay. I'm just going through the questions. So, as I was put, what do you mean by 12 times the rental income? Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, let's say that is producing £3,000 a month, which is 36 grand a year. Now, technically speaking, this is a very basic way, and I wouldn't suggest that you use this as your method. So £3,000 a month times that by 12, 36 grand a year, times that by 12 is going to give you a property value of £432,000. That's a very basic calculation as to figure out what you can do. Now, Courtney's asked a good question. What would the room size need to be to have an ensuite and a kitchenette, please? Could you define kitchenette to us, please? Now, Courtney, one thing that you need to do, my dear, is you need to, every council has got what they call an amenity standards guide, and this is a document which is online. One thing that I would suggest to you is that you go and download that pretty much immediately. That's going to give you a bit of information as to what to what your council is going to be looking for. I can only give you the specification for the councils that I've been working with, and that varies anywhere between 6 and 20 square meters. Sorry, anywhere between 6 and 24 square meters. You know, it all depends on what you're putting in and how you're putting it in and where it's being supplied from. Hamish has put, does insurance cover you from a potential tenant destroying your property? Just trying to think what that question means, because does insurance cover you from a potential tenant destroying your property? Yes, because technically speaking, you'd still have buildings insurance. But the one thing that I do, Hamish, I'll be completely honest, I've never really ever called upon my buildings insurance, purely because for what's actually in the room and the damage that someone could potentially cause, my excess would probably be more than what the actual damage would be. So you need to take that into consideration. So Shane has put, Arsh, very interested, but I might need a couple of days just to get the funds together. Can you hold it till then? If anyone is interested and they haven't got the funds tonight, but they want to hold the offer, one thing that I will say to you is, first of all, take my mobile number down. Give me a call, preferably tomorrow, unless you want to have a chat tonight and you've got a burning urge to have a chat. And then I'm happy to go through it with you and see what we can do. So, like I said, we will be running another course, which will be one more towards the end of the year. And if you like the sound of that, you'll get the recording of this course, and you will then be able to attend the next course for free as well. So let's just go through. I'm just trying to see if there's any more technical questions. I think I've pretty much answered. I think I've pretty much answered most of them in some kind of way. So, okay. Right, okay. So, Sarah's put, I'm really keen to sign up. My question is related to areas. I operate in an area which does not have a strong HMO market, as in there aren't many. However, the demand is strong. Will this cause an issue in obtaining commercial finance? Sarah, okay. It's interesting because in one way, Sarah, you said that there isn't a strong HMO market, as there aren't many. Why not? Why aren't there many HMOs? However, the demand is strong. But then you say that there's lots of people looking, but there's not many HMOs. For me, that's a no-brainer. There's a thing called supply and demand. In your scenario, the demand's already there. All you've got to do is supply it. Once the property is occupied and you can show the lender that it's producing an income, you will get commercial valuation of it. So hopefully that helps. Courtney's asked, what's the minimum number of rooms you would recommend for a HMO? No more, no less than 5, and as many as you can get. Now, I know one person who's actually currently in the process of trying to build a 220-bed HMO. So that, I wouldn't do, well, I've got a 4-bed HMO, and on the workshop, I'm actually going to be showing you how we've converted a 2-bed mid-terrace property into a 4-bed HMO. That now generates, I bought it for 40 grand, I spent 20 grand on a refurb, which meant that it owes me 60, and I'll be showing you how we had it valued at £200,000. So that's one of the property. Neil's put, how easy is it to get commercial finance with little experience? Well, Neil, the one thing that you've got to do, first you've got to own the asset, first you've got to show the, sorry, bear with me a sec, you've got the key. Okay, do you need to get into the garage? Okay, cool. So, sorry, Neil, question is, how easy it is to get commercial finance? First thing that you've got to do, you've got to acquire the property. Second thing that you've got to do, you've got to show the lender that you've owned it for a short period of time and the property is vacant, sorry, not vacant, it's fully occupied and it's producing the income that you're anticipating. And then they'll give you commercial finance. If you're trying to go for commercial finance from day one, it's not going to happen. You need to make sure that you own the property first. So Raj put, what's the room size guide? It's called the Amenity Standard Guide. So Neil says, so would I need a bridge first? Bridge is potential one option, JV investor is potential another option, crowdfunding is a third option. There's so many options. Okay, so Shane has put, when the commercial lender comes to value the property which is already tenanted, have you had issues with gaining access? No. It shouldn't be, because Shane, if you've got tenants in there that you're not communicating with or are not working with you, they shouldn't be in there from day one. Remember, when a tenant lives in your property, there's got to be some form of rapport, there's got to be some form of communication, there's got to be some form of relationship. Now, if you haven't got that relationship with that tenant, they shouldn't be even entering your property full stop. And you've also got to tell them that you need access at some point. So hopefully, guys, I think that's pretty much covered. That's pretty much covered. So someone's just put, can we go back to the link again? So that's pretty much covered what we've, everything that we can do. But the one thing I want to say is, first of all, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be on the webinar. More millionaires are made in the recession than any other time. I want that to be one of you. Because I want you to be smart. If you're smart, hungry, and you're motivated, you can do this. Now, I want you to be one of the recession. I want you to be one of the guys that actually prosper in the recession. And if you think you can do this, or if you want to get on board to a strategy that I've been running for 16 years and it's got me to financial freedom, this is your opportunity. So all you can do is click on the link, or if you want to have a chat with me, I'm going to be available for the next 10 minutes on my mobile phone, and we can go from there. But that's, guys, on that note, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Take care. Good night. God bless.